Hi sewing friends, welcome to my sewing room. My name is Beth, and if you're new, welcome. Today I'm making a quilt using a lot of half square triangles that I acquired recently. Let's get started. Here are all of those half square triangles that are already pre-cut. Now I did not cut these, this is not my fabric, but I found it at a thrift store and I did pay money to buy this large stash of half square triangles. I thought it would be fun to try to figure out how to put them all together. In the beginning, I wasn't sure how I would arrange them, but I did decide that I would put a dark next to a light, and there were quite a few that were already paired up with a dark and a light. Not all of them had been matched up, but some have. So I'm going to put those together. I thought about making a whole quilt with just half square triangles, but after thinking about it, I decided it would be fun to sort of use them as the sashing in a very simple quilt. Before pressing my half square triangles open, I trimmed away all of those end little pieces. Sometimes they're called dog ears, and I trimmed them away at an angle so that they would help me when I put my blocks together. The seam will not have as much bulk. So I'm going to trim all of those corners, and then I'll press my half square triangles open. I decided that I would sew 4 of my half square triangles together for my sashing, and when I sewed 4 together, it measured 7.5 inches. All of my little half square triangles are at this point 2¼ inches. So when I put 4 together, that measured 7.5, and that's the size that I will be using for my center squares that are going to be just a very low volume, sort of a creamy color, and these half square triangles are going to surround all of my very plain squares that I'll be cutting in just a minute. Most of these strips of 4 were made on a recent camping trip. I just took all of my half square triangles along with me and I pieced them together. It was nice, peaceful work to do in my trailer. Now here are my center squares that are 7.5 inches. I sort of have a variety here, and I'm going to be surrounding my squares with my strips of half square triangles. Once I had an idea of how I wanted everything laid out, I started sewing my pieces together here in rows. So I'm going to start in the middle with a strip of those 4 half square triangles and a square, and I'm just going to make rows using my half square triangles and squares, and then the alternate row will be all half square triangles. Here I am on my design wall trying to figure out how I'm going to arrange all of my pieces. And what I'm doing right here is alternating the dark half square triangles facing the center square and then light half square triangles. But after sort of doing a little mock-up here, I decided that it would be easier just to have everything going the same direction. So in the end, I decided to join all of those half square triangles on the long rows there, all going the same direction. I really like the way this is looking, and I will keep going, adding rows of squares and then rows of those half square triangles. I really like the mixture of the plain squares in the center of all those half square triangles, but I did make a mistake right here. It's hard to tell, but that is the back side of one of the squares. And I thought I might switch it around and put it right side forward, but I decided to leave it after all. Since these squares are so scrappy, I don't think anyone is going to notice that it's actually the back side of the fabric on that one square. I am not quite done with this quilt top yet, but I certainly am enjoying the process, and I love all these beautiful scraps that someone donated to a thrift store so that I can sew them together and make a quilt. This is a lot of fun, admiring all those pretty fabrics and making a beautiful quilt at the same time. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.